All right, let's try and get a sense now of how things wrapped up. Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan joining me in studio to give us a brief summary of these proceedings. Good evening to you, and good to have you here. So, the prison term of 15 months in jail without the option of a fine, that was always going to be the center of these arguments, but include in that the remittance of this prison term, because the former president was let out of jail through a special remission. How did those arguments pan out?
Certainly, it's now the technicality of it all. And we just heard Advocate Dali Mpofu speak about Section 47, and that's what the entire debate is about, the point for when Zuma can actually be part of the National Assembly. That's what Section 47 is about. So ultimately, they're saying that because Zuma has been convicted of a crime and he was sentenced to more than 12 months in prison, he does not qualify to be part of the National Assembly. But Advocate Dali Mpofu says that firstly, the IEC doesn't have the mandate to administer this section because it falls under the National Assembly. Then you've just heard the defense say, well, no, the IEC does this at a screening stage before the candidate goes to National Assembly. The second point Advocate Dali Mpofu is making is that he says Zuma wasn't convicted in this sense. He never went to a trial. He never pleaded guilty or not guilty. It was sort of a civil process that Justice Kempepe took those few years ago, and ultimately leading to his conviction, then medical parole, which was ultimately deemed unlawful, then going back to jail, and then that sentence remission. But what we hear now, especially from the Defense Counsel for the IEC, they say that this section of the Constitution, Section 47, is imperative. And I just want to point out to what Advocate Ugaitobi says, is he says that it's an important section to prevent any convicted criminals from being part of the National Assembly. And towards the end of his argument, saying that drafters of the Constitution are saying that serious lawbreakers should not be lawmakers. But what Advocate Dali Mpofu says is that there are thousands of people who want to see the former president on that ballot paper. They want to vote for him, so their rights are being violated. And there were throngs of supporters outside court. The former president came out to speak to them. They were so happy when he saw them. And then he had a number of things to say, including condemning the IEC for what has happened, and then going on to say that he was recalled. He never got to finish his term as president. So I'd like you to take a listen to what he had to say.
The IEC inomsebenzi wayo ukulungiselela ukhetho ibesilindele ukuthi iliphi iqembu eliwinayo bese announce lokho umsebenzi wayo uphelela lapho angazi ukuthi yini lebenza ukuthi bangenela umsebenzi waseParliament ungabona wabo okwabo ukubhala amavoti usumemeza ukuthi iliphi iqembu eliwinileyo uhulumeni ngesikhathi ngiyilungu likakhongolose ANC angaze ngizwe kwathiwa uma usuphumile kulene iphathi enye wazakhele yakho awunalunga libe umongameli wayo ayikho into esho njalo emthethweni abasazi basizwa ngendaba.
That's the former president, Jacob Zuma, addressing supporters outside court. As we conclude, Karinda, the argument, or was there not much of this made in court, the remittal of this prison term? So President Jacob Zuma is let out on a special remission, but there are those who seem to interpret this as expunging the record, the criminal record of the former president. What did the lawyers say?
So that's what Advocate Dali Mpofu says. He says that he never served more than 12 months in prison. It was ultimately 3 months, and then after that he was remitted of his sentence by the executive, by the president. But defending the IEC, Advocate Toby says you cannot look at the ultimate sentence. What happened was a judge, a presiding officer, said that the former president must go to jail for 15 months, and then that does deem more than the 12 months according to your Section 47 regarding a convicted criminal. And it is that one must look at, because the remittance was because of another reason. Remember the president speaking about overcrowding of jails and, the former president being quite elderly as well, but never forgiving or pardoning. It wasn't a pardon for the crimes, essentially. So that is what the IEC is saying through their attorney, that ultimately there is a convicted criminal that you are dealing with, and going forward, this is how it must be regarded. But only tomorrow will we hear it's going to be a written statement being handed down. But I tell you, outside court, MK supporters, they're really going to be looking out for what the court will have to say.
Very well explained. Thank you very much. Karinda Jagmohan, our colleague who was following this story.